What's up, guys? It's Mike, the Smokin Monkey, and today we're back at it with another Jeep video. And honestly, I've been getting a lot of requests and a lot of questions to make a video about what it takes to lift a Jeep Wrangler TJ and what I went through and just the different accompanying mods that you would need to get it lifted, because a lot of the time on Jeeps, and especially TJs, to do one mod you need accompanying mods, which means things to support that mod to make the Jeep run as it should, because you're trying to make it do things that it wasn't designed to do. So yeah, so like when you lift the Jeep, there's other things you need to do to accompany it to make it drive properly or make it drive like stock again, so that it actually handles good on the road and you can actually get it down the road and get it to the trail. So personally, when I went to go lift my Jeep, this is my first Jeep, this is my first Jeep build, and I've never lifted a vehicle before. So I wanted to buy a Jeep TJ. I wanted to lift it as high as I could, and I wanted tires like up to my chest. And that's not really that easy to do. I've come to learn that that is quite a costly endeavor. And if you guys are in the same ballpark as me and you guys just want to lift the thing sky high and get huge wheels on it, then this is the video for you, because I'll show you guys exactly what it actually takes to get to that level. And believe me, I'm still gonna do it. If you guys are following the channel, if you guys have been following the build, then this is my first Jeep, this is my first build. This is just getting started, the channel is just growing. I am definitely gonna build something huge and something amazing one day. It's gonna be some kind of a monster, and it's gonna be definitely breaking the internet. But just wait for that, that's gonna come soon. Right now, we're just building something modest, something that everybody can build, something that you can build in your garage at home, because I built it in my underground garage here in my apartment. And yeah, that's right, I did that all in a garage that's publicly used by everybody, and honestly, it wasn't that hard. And everything but the lift I did in the garage, so you guys can pretty much do everything that I've done. But I'll show you guys what it takes to lift it, and what it takes to lift it as high as I did, which is 2.5 inches, and I'll tell you why I did the 2.5 inch. And I'll also tell you what it would take you to get you all the way up to 6 inches and huge tires, 40-inch tires, 1-ton axles, and all that great stuff. So stay tuned, let's go downstairs and I'll show you guys what I built, and I'll show you guys my build so far, and I'll explain to you what it'll take you to get to that level. So what are we looking at here? This is my 2001 Jeep Wrangler TJ Sport 4 liter, I wish, 4 liter. And you can see I'm 6'1", and it is just a little bit shorter than me. So I would say it probably sits almost at 6 foot, right when you lift it 2.5 inches from stock. Most of you, like myself, when you have one of these, you probably still have the original suspension in it if it's stock. And believe it or not, that original suspension, whether it be 15 or 20 or 23 years old, however old your Jeep is, it's not doing its job, and it's probably sagging. So your Jeep is probably sitting a lot lower than where it would usually be sitting, or where it should be sitting. So when I went to go lift mine, the 2.5 inches, basically what happened was it went up 3 inches in the rear and 3 inches in the front. I did that, I checked that by measuring the height at the actual fenders before and after the lift. Now I haven't measured it with the new tires. I should measure it with the new tires just to see where it's at and if the suspension has settled any. But now that I put the new wheels and tires on, it's going to be kind of hard to tell if it's settled. Regardless, the reason I went with the 2.5 inch lift on mine is, and I went with the suspension lift. A lot of you guys will hear suspension lift versus body lift. The difference between a suspension lift and a body lift is suspension lift is springs and shocks. You're gonna do springs and shocks, and the springs will be higher or taller, and you'll have the shock that will accommodate that new travel or that new ride height, and that will give you your lift if you're doing a suspension lift. If you're doing a body lift, what you're talking about is going down here into the body mounts. You've got a body mount here, you've got a body mount there, which is rotted to shit, and you've got a body mount there. You've also got some in the back, and I believe there's one somewhere up in the front. And here's one in the rear. So you can see your body mounts. Sorry? No, I know what you mean. I appreciate it. No, it is mine, I have the key. I appreciate that. Take care, man. And would you look at that? That's how you know you have good neighbors. Some guy actually came by to make sure that I wasn't someone here to mess around or steal the vehicle. And I really appreciate that, because you never know what's going to happen, especially when you put a lot of money into your vehicle and you actually enjoy your vehicle and you upgrade it and put all that money and time and effort into it. And yeah, people who go out there and steal other people's things, I don't want to say too many things on here because I'll probably get my video removed, but you guys, don't let me catch you around my car. That's all I got to say. Back to the lift and the body mounts. So basically your other body mount is right back here, and you've got one in the back, you've got the 3 along the sides here. And if you do a body lift, basically you're removing these here and you're adding in a larger spacer or a larger puck or whatever you want to call it. These are usually polyurethane or rubber or something like that. So basically that will give the body of the Jeep a lift. So it'll still be, you'll have more clearance in the wheel wells, of course, but your suspension travel will still be the same. And basically the good thing about doing a suspension lift is you'll get better ride quality, you'll get more travel, and you'll probably be able to actually have a lot more flex, which means your wheels and tires will be able to articulate better over different terrain. So you can have the front wheel down, the back wheel up, depending on how rough the terrain is, and you can still have contact on all 4 wheels. And that's the goal. And as you can see, the reason I did not do a body lift is because my torque rail here, or torque box, is actually rotted out. I need to get a new torque box and I need to patch a few holes in the floor. Then we probably will do a body lift. But the only other issue with doing a body lift is your steering and your shifter linkages. Your steering is now, you have more room for the steering to have to travel, as well as when you do a suspension lift. But for your linkages inside your shifter, your transmission stays where it is, but your body, where your shifter is, lifts up. So those linkages don't line up perfectly. So you're either gonna have to get a linkage kit or some kind of a drop or some kind of an extension for those linkages, because a lot of people end up having to cut their center consoles to get second, fourth, and reverse. I didn't have to do that because I didn't do the lift, but you will also have to do that if you do a transfer case drop, unless you extend your linkages, which I have extended. So that's why mine still goes into 4 low, 4 high, 2 high, sorry. 2 low would be dope. That's an Atlas transfer case. That's a whole nother video. But if I have all of that and it actually doesn't want to shift, then that's when you need to get those extensions or those linkages, and that's when you'll be able to actually get into all the gears and get your transfer case to shift properly. Or you get a cable shifter if you have a big enough body lift. Now the body lift will cause you some issues too, like I mentioned with the shifting and all of that, but it won't give you as good of an articulation on off-road terrain. You won't get as good flex. So that's why I went with the suspension lift. What accompanying mods do you need for a suspension lift? Well, I'm still waiting to do a link kit, either a quick disconnect or a complete removal of these links. And what that's gonna do is give the front axle the ability to articulate a bit better without having to move both sides at the same time. What does that mean? So when this side goes up, that side wants to go down, but not just because it's a solid axle, also because there's the sway bar pushing that side of the axle down when this side goes up. As you can see, it has that lever motion. So you eliminate that when you get rid of the sway bar links, and this side of the axle can go up without pushing that side as far down, giving you a lot better flex and a lot better articulation off-road. And the only other thing that you will have to worry about up front is your steering. As you can see, I still have the original drag link and everything is stock except for my steering stabilizer. You will have to probably upgrade your steering stabilizer to something a little bit more beefy. And you can see I have the N3 there and I have the N3 here from Rough Country. So they do match up and everything should hopefully match up. So far I haven't had any issues with the steering weight and bump steer, which is what that steering stabilizer will help with. But definitely after you lift it, the steering gets really wonky. So you could be driving, depending on the crest of the road, with the wheel turned, cocked to the left, and it'll be going straight. You could have the wheel straight on flat pavement and it'll be going straight, and you can have the wheel on to the right, and if the crest of the road is to the right, and you'll still be going straight. So it's kind of weird, but that all has to do with the angle of this drag link here.
And as soon as you lift the vehicle, these stay in the same place, but the steering box comes up, which increases this angle on the drag link, which decreases its effectiveness. So you have to get a heavy duty drag link or a pitman arm drop, which is this piece right here. This is your pitman arm, this guy that connects to your steering box, to your drag link. And what you'll have to do is get a heavy duty pitman arm that has a drop already built into it. It has a steeper angle there, and that'll help eliminate that steering issue. The only other thing that you will need to worry about is bump stops. What are bump stops? Bump stops are right here, and these are rubber or foam. Usually if it's still stock, they're foam, but you can get polyurethane, you can get rubber, you can get ones that are filled with oil, you can get ones that are filled with air. But the most simple ones, like I have, are rubber. And what this does is it stops the shock. Yes, I know they're inside the spring, but it stops the shock from bottoming out. So as soon as that bump stop hits the bottom of the frame there, or the seat of the spring, it's basically gonna stop it from compressing any further, and it's gonna stop that shock from messing itself up. So you can see the travel here. You don't really want it to bottom out. So you can see it travels from about there to about there. So I'd give that about 4 inches. Now it will go down further, but at stock ride height, it will go up about 4 to 5 inches. As you can see, that's pretty much the distance I have right in there, 4 to 5 inches. And that's basically what that does. So you're gonna wanna upgrade your bump stops, you're gonna wanna extend your bump stops. So make sure, even if you do a 2.5 inch lift like I did, you're gonna wanna extend your bump stops to save your shocks. And why did I go with a 2.5 inch lift? Well, 2.5, you're supposedly not needed to do the drop bracket, which is this. This is a 1 inch spacer that I have between the skid plate, which mounts to your transfer case and your transmission, and your frame. So when you don't have this, this sits flush right up against here, gives you more clearance. Now the benefit of that is if you go up 2.5 inches on the body, but you go down 1 inch here, you're really only gaining 1.5 inches of clearance at the bottom of the Jeep. Now that kind of eliminates the whole point of the lift, but it's something you have to live with because that shorty little drive shaft back there. So that guy is the issue. If that was any longer, then you wouldn't have as much problems like on a 4-door Jeep or a LJ Jeep. The TJ is a little bit shorter, but if you have an LJ, then definitely you will have a little bit more room. And the LJ is just the unlimited version. It's not a 4-door. It is just a stretched version of a TJ. And you can see that little drive shaft. I think it's like 16 or 18 inches, something like that. That is your limiting factor. Once you get anything higher than a 2.5 inch lift, even at 2.5, I had to get a drop bracket. But anything higher than that, you are probably gonna experience a vibration. It is different from Jeep to Jeep, but you're probably gonna experience some sort of a vibration and some sort of drivability issue. Now, the drop bracket eliminates that. It helped for me, but usually at 2.5 inches, you shouldn't have to do the drop bracket, which causes your shifter problems, which is why I did 2.5 for now. But if you choose to go with a slip yoke eliminator, which is an attachment that goes onto your transfer case and gets rid of your actual, and it eliminates the yoke that's there, the slip yoke eliminator. And then you get a new drive shaft that accommodates that, which is a double cardan drive shaft. Once you have that, it's a lot stronger and it can handle a lot better of an angle. Now the newer Jeeps, JKs and JLs and so on, they come with that from the factory. This thing does not. So what you have to do is get a new drive shaft, $300 to $400, and a slip yoke eliminator, $300 to $500, depending on where you get it. So there's $1,000 in just that accompanying mod. So let's go in order and let's see what accompanying mods and what it takes to lift your Jeep from 2.5 inches all the way to 6 inches. So at 2.5 inches, you're gonna need suspension. Well, if you go suspension, for now I'll be talking just suspension lifts. If you're going 2.5 inch suspension lift, you will need new sway bar links in the front, possibly a new pitman arm. You will need possibly the drop bracket, and that should be it. So springs and shocks, drop bracket, and new links in the front, possibly a pitman arm. If you want to go up to 3.5 inches, you can still get away with it without doing control arms. And your control arms are these guys right here. You've got one here, one up in here, one back there, And there is an upper as well. It's just a little hard to show you guys right now, but there is an upper somewhere. There it is. You guys can see. This is your upper right along here. It's kind of hard for me to reach my hand in, but there's your upper. So it is a 4-link system. You've got 2 in the back, 2 in the front. And what you're gonna be having to do at 3.5 inches is sway bar links, possibly extended brake lines, springs and shocks, new control arms in the front and in the back. You could get away with doing just the lowers, but most of the time you're gonna have to do uppers and lowers in the front and in the back. Yeah, so most kits, you will get all of that stuff included. It comes with everything. And you'll see that when you're looking at kits, but a lot of them don't come with everything. So make sure you get a full, complete kit when you're shopping. Now, if you want to go all the way up to 4.5 inches, you're going to need your control arms, brake lines extended, sway bar links, you're going to need shocks and springs, and you're also going to possibly need new drag link. Well, you're going to need a pitman arm drop for sure, but you're possibly going to need a new drag link and new tie rod ends, because everything up in the front is going to need to be beefed up, because most likely the angle that you're at, it's not going to be happy and it's not going to want to steer, and you're going to get a lot of vagueness and a lot of bump steer. Hopefully you guys, if you go that route, you can eliminate that and just check all your ball joints. Before you lift anything, even at 2.5 inches, you need to check all of your ball joints, all of your tie rod ends. You need to make sure that everything is greased, everything is good and tight, and also all of your wheel bearings, because once you lift it, there's more stress on everything because the Jeep isn't made to sit like this. So once you actually get it lifted and everything is nice and big, then that's when you have that issue, and that's when you're actually gonna have ball joints start to fail, you're gonna have tie rods, you're gonna have all the bushings inside of your control arms start to get under more stress and start to fail. So I do plan on doing control arms soon, even though I'm only at 2.5 inches. And I do plan on getting myself a slip yoke eliminator, and then eventually going up to probably around 6 inches, and maybe even getting myself new axles. Now, what does it take to throw in 1-ton axles? And what is a 1-ton axle? A 1-ton axle is out of a heavy-duty pickup truck, so not a regular pickup truck, but a Super Duty, and usually they are the F350s or 3500s, things like that. And those will give you the ability to run around 40 to 44-inch tires, but to get that axle underneath here is not as easy as you think. First of all, you're going to need new drive shafts for sure. You're going to need new control arms. You're going to need a long arm kit, which comes with a bracket to attach the control arms. Sorry, I can't even talk right now. You're going to need a new drop bracket to attach the control arms, because then those brackets aren't going to do the job anymore. Those are not in the right position. So long arm kit, you're going to need suspension, and the suspension that you're going to get when you get 1-ton axles, because they're so wide and the pumpkin is so big, the actual diff in the back, like that guy right there, once that's so big, you're going to need to get a smaller gas tank. You're going to need to either extend the frame, because this thing is so short. You're going to need to slide the gas tank back. You need to get, because the way everything is set up, as you can see, the springs and the shocks are on the inside of the frame here. Once you get a bigger axle, you can't always fit all of that stuff in there with the long arm kit. So you might have to get outboard, which means you're going to have to get something that mounts on the outside of the frame, and that's probably going to be a coilover, which means it's a shock and spring in one. Those are going to run you around $3,000, so you're looking at $3,000 in that. You're looking at like at least $2,000 in drive shafts and slip yoke. You're looking at probably around $1,000 to do the brackets and get them installed. Then you're going to need to re-gear it so that your engine can push them. Then you need tires that can roll on that, which is probably going to be around $5,000, unless you get them used, which is still going to cost you probably $2,000. So it's a quick way to spend 15 to 20 grand if you want to do 1-ton axles on a TJ. Now, not to say I'm not going to do it eventually, but it is very costly, and it is a lot bigger of a job than I thought it was before I actually started looking into it. And I don't think that it's something that most people want to do or most people will do, so that's why I kind of want to do it. But we'll see how long that takes me, or how quick I can get everything together, but that is the goal. I want this thing to not fit in here anymore. I want it to be ridiculous, and hopefully you guys will be around to see it. But that's basically what it takes to lift your Jeep. You need all kinds of accompanying mods, from control arms to brake line extensions to drop brackets, not to mention the wheels and tires to go with all of that. And if you want to talk about building your axles, that's a whole nother video. But the axles on a TJ, on a Sport, you can't really put more than a 33. If you have a Rubicon, you can slap a 35. But if you want to go anything bigger, you're probably going to need to either build your axles or swap your axles. So it's a lot of work. Hopefully that gives you guys a little bit better idea of what it takes to lift one of these things and what it actually takes to get it up in the air. It's a lot of work. It's actually pretty exhausting. It takes a lot of time and a lot of effort, but it is rewarding once it's done. I love the way this thing came out, and I honestly am super happy and super stoked to get it out on the trails, and I cannot wait to see how it performs. It's already been out once, but not with the new wheels and tires, and it has been awesome. I just cannot wait to get it out there with the full new setup. But if you're out there to lift your TJs, make sure you look at the different options, look at the different lift kits. I got a Rough Country. It's probably the cheapest kit out there, and it's because I had to do all these other mods and all these other things to get it there to that point. So even with the lift kit and tires and everything that I have now, it wasn't cheap. I'm not complaining. I'm still happy. I would do it again. But at the end of the day, it's something that you guys should know how much you're getting into before you get into it. And it is pretty costly, so make sure you go out, you look at the different kits, you look at the different options, and you make sure you build it for what you guys want to do. So if you just want it to look good, or if you want it to perform good, or if you actually just want something that's going to be bigger than everybody else's, like I do. But at the end of the day, you need to go out and make sure that you can do all those accompanying mods so it drives good, and it's not just up in the air, but you can't move the thing freaking 2 blocks because it's scary to drive, because you think you're going to go and drive into somebody else's lane every time you go over a pothole. And trust me, I've driven those Jeeps. They're no fun. I think that's pretty much about covering it for today's video. Hopefully I helped you guys out a little bit. Let me know if I missed anything. Let me know if you guys have any other questions, and let me know what lift you guys are running and how big your Jeep is, and if you guys have run into any issues, or if it's just been smooth sailing so far. Because for me, I've run into a few issues, like my transfer case drop and all of that, even at 2.5 inches. But let's see what you guys have done, and let's see what you guys need to know, because I know I've missed a few things for sure. If you guys want to ask me anything, drop me a comment. And if you guys enjoyed this video, definitely drop me a like. Let me know that you guys enjoyed this so that I know what content to make for you guys in the upcoming videos. But there's more mods and there's more off-roading trips coming. I've still got a few things to do this week that we're going to do as preparing for the off-roading trip, because we're going to go on one, I think, in a few days. I think we're probably going to be going like at the end of the week, hopefully, and we will be taping that one for you guys, so stay tuned because it's going to be a good one. And if you guys are new around here, hit that subscribe button, because there's tons more good content coming your way, and hopefully you'll be there to see it. So until then, guys, ride safe out there. Peace.